folks. Let's get... This first guy almost didn't make it today because he had terrible cold. We told him to take some cold pills, but he kept falling out of his nose. Welcome, Kenneth Hornby. Yeah. Gongaroo. Jamie, why did you do that thing, you rascal?
He's wearing one of my outfits.
I see. I guess you shouldn't have done that. Well, it's been nice having you on the show. Oh, Ken, take care. We'll be back with more stuff right after this message. Show, folks. That is a skimpy band. Listen, every day there's an outrageous act on this old show. I'm sure there is. And on Friday we give a 30 sock and a big check for something to the most outrageous act of the week. So see if you can spot it. Now let's meet our cute little celebrities. What can you say about this man that hasn't already been said about Brenda Vaccaro? Ladies and gentlemen, long of snoot, Jamie Foxx.
Mr. Mogul. Thank you, Mr. Mogul. Mr. Mogul.
There she sits, folks. The lady who caused many of the population to hurt themselves in the shower. Who else but J.P. Morgan? Our next gentleman is the only person on record to be rejected by his analysts. Let's make him feel at home, the wonderful Louis Nye. All right, let's have a herald trumpet welcome for one of the finest performers that's ever graced our stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Fiore.
In a faraway town, there's a girl I left behind. So my heart cries for her, and she's always on my mind. I remember that night in the spring when we fell so in love. And I heard the angels sing. So that faraway town brings me back sweet memories. Now I long for her kiss and her smile so close to me. My life, my heart.
Johnny, you got Gong. I don't know why they did that. I loved your singing. But then again, I like little mangled duckies. Why did you do that, Louis? Why did you do that?
Because a person that comes out with 2 AIDS playing trombones, I just felt that I had to do it.
You see that? Our fault of giving you a trumpet thing, but you certainly sang up a storm. Watch your step there. All right. Folks, when these next three girls aren't performing, they spend a tremendous amount of time trying to second guess the shrinkage in their blue jeans. Ladies and gentlemen, they're weird out there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Latifah, Monique, and Ilana. That was sensational. Come on down here. Bring all your little bare feet down here. Long of nose, what do you think of this trio?
I think that's shake without bake. I gave him an 8.
There is a loose 8. JP, Rascule.
I've had a belly full of these acts.
She's so cute. Little gay with her little hat. Louis.
Well, I saw the 2 mommy-type tum-tums, and the little baby teeny tiny tum-tum, and it excited me, and...
Another one. That gives you a total of 24 points, and thanks to me on his show. It does, right? Look, you take care of yourself. That was a funny little act. Sort of excited. Larry's in jail. Ladies... Wait a minute. Excuse me. This little shut up. Hush up. All right, now. Yes. Ladies, here comes a musician's musician. Straight out of the Newport Jazz Festival. We're so excited to have him a fave. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Larry and his bass fiddle.
Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play that bass fiddle. Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play my bass fiddle now. Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play that bass fiddle. Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play my bass fiddle now. Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play my bass fiddle. Gonna play it now.
You're not supposed to put a bass fiddle under your chin. You're supposed to stand up. You don't know how to even play the thing. Take me to commercial. This show is loaded with infomercials. I've never saw so many infomercials on one stage in my life. We'll be back with more stuff. Right after this.
If you're in Hollywood and have a good or unusual act, why not audition for The Gong Show. You can contact our staff by calling area code 213-466-9153. Employees of NBC, the production company, members of their families are not eligible. Now, back to Chuck Barris and The Gong Show.
Here's Old Drool. Old Drool is a philosopher that kind of hangs around the Gong Show. He knows all those Greek and Latin things. Hey, Old Drool, do you have any good Greek things that we can learn something from? What? Give it to us. Lay it on us. Drool?
Faustus, Claustus, pudding and pie.
Yeah.
Pluribus, uribus. Zip up your fly.
I see. That's an interesting Greek. That's an interesting Greek little saying. What does that mean, Old Drool?
Yeah. I go on a dead tumble to my shoes. When I play it on Jelly Roll Blues.
Get off the stage. Get off, Drool. Get off. I'm telling you. Get those. That old Drool is a simple old fellow. In case they don't succeed here today, this next duo can always go back to their day job, which is selling recycled Pampers to Shriners as party hats. Ladies and gentlemen, way to go. I needed that. Ladies and gentlemen, here come the Ozark Sweethearts.
I stepped out of the house about sundown while Mama was washing her hair. You can bet your bottom dollar she'll come looking for me when she finds out that I'm not there. Now, if she catches the sweet thing out of messing around, well, you know there'll be the devil to pay. She'll come roaring like a cyclone through that door, and I can hear exactly what she'll say. She gonna say,
J.P. Morgan, what do you think of the old Sweetheart?
Country.
All right. Damn. Good score. Lewis?
Well, I suspect you see them folks out there with their fried chicken and everything, and it just made you homesick.
Good old Ken. Let's take it. Jamie Farr.
City.
Yeah.
City.
Way to go. That's 30 points. Thank you for being on the show. See you around. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a guy who in the sequel to Star Wars is called Star Wars is called Sit on My Force. Ladies and gentlemen. So bad. Ladies and gentlemen. What is that? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. Oh, I love this guy. He's a fave on TV Coast to Coast. Imagine they're letting us in your house. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Robert Edelman.
Pimples are on my nose. I squeeze them till the starts to flow. Well, there's only 16, but they're the little things. They're the
don't know what they did that for. They don't have any appreciation. Skule, why did you do that?
There's no room for the singing zit on this show.
She has a point. She does have a point. Thank you, little zit. But it's good night, Patty and Bob. We'll be back with more stuff right after this message. Seeing this next act perform for the first time, I get the feeling that the kind of people... I can't say that. Ladies and gentlemen... No, I can't. I'll get chastised. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Ben's Bones. Good. You rotten little kid. Come over here. Louis, you old rascal, what do you think of these two people?
Well, it's nice to meet young folks that try hard and got all kinds of freckies on the faces. So I thought I'd lay on a fine...
An 8. That's good. Jamie.
I think they're adorable. I give them a 9.
A 9. J.P. Morgan.
I always love to hear the Andrews sisters.
All right, 26 points. I go up to 6. All right. Okay, folks. And now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Gene, the dancing machine.
The golden sun of Southern California began its slow descent behind the silhouettes of the iconic palm trees, casting long and elegant shadows across the pavement of Hollywood. Inside the hallowed walls of the television studio, a different kind of energy was beginning to hum and vibrate. This was the cathedral of the common man, the grand stage where dreams were either forged in the heat of the spotlight or dissolved into the gentle, reverberating ring of a giant brass gong. It was a place where the ordinary became extraordinary for a few fleeting minutes under the warm glow of the incandescent bulbs. The air inside the studio smelled of hairspray, expensive cologne, and the electric anticipation of a live audience. People from every walk of life had gathered here, sitting shoulder to shoulder in the velvet seats, waiting for the magic of variety to unfold. Behind the heavy velvet curtains, the stage hands moved with practiced precision, and the musicians tuned their instruments, creating a soft cacophony of hope. The lights began to flicker, signaling the start of the performance. The legendary host, a man of boundless charisma and a mischievous sparkle in his eyes, stepped onto the stage. He looked out at the sea of faces and felt a surge of genuine affection for the human spirit and its desire to perform, to be seen, and to share a laugh. He took a deep breath, adjusted his jacket, and began the evening with a warm welcome. Our first gentleman almost did not make it to the studio today because he was battling a truly terrible cold. It was the kind of sickness that makes the head feel heavy and the spirits feel low. We told him that he should take some cold pills to feel better, but he reported a rather unusual problem. He claimed that the pills kept falling out of his nose instead of doing their job. Please give a warm and wonderful welcome to our first guest of the evening, the resilient and brave Lee. The audience erupted in cheers as Lee made his way to the center of the stage. Despite his ailment, he carried himself with a sense of pride that only a true performer could possess. It was a reminder that even when we are not feeling our best, the show must go on, and the effort we put into our passions is what truly defines us. The host turned his attention to the panel of celebrity judges. These were individuals who had seen it all, yet they still maintained a sense of wonder and playfulness. He looked at one particular judge, a man known for his wit and his unforgettable sense of style. "Jamie, why did you do that thing, you little rascal?" the host asked with a playful nudge. "It appears that he is wearing one of my very own outfits tonight. I see now that it is a rather skimpy event. Every single day, there is an outrageous act on this old show, and I am absolutely certain that there is more to come. On Friday, we will give a prize of 30 socks and a big check for something special to the most outrageous act of the week. So, I want everyone in the audience to see if you can spot the winner among us." The host then proceeded to introduce the rest of the panel, whom he affectionately called the cute little celebrities. He turned to a man with a distinctive profile and a wealth of stories to tell. What can a person possibly say about this man that has not already been said about Brenda Piccaro? Ladies and gentlemen, a man who is long of nose and short of snooze, the incomparable Jamie Farr. The audience laughed and clapped as Jamie waved. Next to him sat a lady of great poise and history. There she sits, folks. She is the lady who caused many of the population to hurt themselves in the shower while trying to replicate her grace. And then we have the only person on record to be rejected by his own analysts. Let us make him feel right at home. The wonderful and talented Louis Nye is here with us. The atmosphere was electric as the host introduced the final member of the judging panel. We are joined by one of the finest performers that has ever graced our stage in all our years of broadcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Johnny Fiore. Johnny Fiore stood up, and for a moment, he became a girl in his performance. He sang from the depths of his heart, a melody that spoke of love and the gentle ache that comes with it. He sang about a girl who had stolen his heart, a girl who was always there in his thoughts. They fell so deeply in love, he sang, and yet there was a hurt that he could not quite explain. He did not know why he did what he did, but the emotion in his voice was palpable. The host looked at Johnny with a mixture of admiration and humor. "I truly love your singing, Johnny. But then again, I also happen to like little mangled duckies. Why did you decide to do that particular act?" Johnny smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Because a person who comes out with 2 aides playing trombones is a person who understands life. I just felt in my soul that I had to do it. It was about expressing the internal music that we all carry inside of us." The show moved forward with a sense of rhythmic joy. The next group to take the stage consisted of 3 young women. They were not there to sing or dance in the traditional sense. Instead, They had spent a tremendous amount of time trying to second-guess the inevitable shrinkage in their blue jeans. They stood there with all their little bare feet touching the stage floor, a picture of youthful curiosity and simple American fashion. The host looked toward Jamie Farr. Long of nose, what do you think of this interesting trio? Jamie considered them for a moment before responding with a grin. I think that is a case of shake without bake. I have decided to give them an A for their effort and their spirit. Honestly, I have had a belly full of these actors lately, but these three are something different. The stage then filled with a different kind of energy. There were two mothers or perhaps mommy-type tom-toms, followed by little baby teeny tiny tom-toms. The rhythm was infectious, a heartbeat of the studio. Ladies, wait a minute, the host interrupted gently. Excuse me, but please, hush up for just one moment. All right, now we are ready. He turned back to the audience, his voice rising with excitement. Here comes a musician's musician. He is a man who comes straight out of the Newport Jazz Festival. We are so incredibly excited to have him as a favorite on our stage. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Larry and his famous bass fiddle, Chin. Larry walked out, carrying his massive instrument with a sense of gravity. However, instead of playing a complex jazz melody, he simply stood there. You are supposed to stand up, Larry, the host prompted. It appears that you do not even know how to play the bass fiddle. Please, someone take me to a commercial break before I lose my mind. The audience roared with laughter at the comedic timing. The host smiled, knowing that these moments of imperfection were what made the show so human and relatable. This show is absolutely loaded with musicals, he told the viewers. There are so many of them at this stage of my life. We'll be back in just a moment. 9153. We're going back to Chuck Ferris. The host, Chuck, seemed to hang around the show with a wisdom that spanned the ages. He was known for knowing all those complex Greek and Latin things that sounded so impressive to the ear. He turned to a character known as Old Drool. Hey, Old Drool, Chuck said. Do you have any good Greek things that we can learn something from today? Give it to us. Lay it on us, Drool. We want to be educated. The man known as Drool cleared his throat and recited a verse that sounded ancient, yet strangely modern. Faustus, Claustus, Puddin and Pie. Yes, Lyribus, Euribus, zip up your fly. I see the little thing in that message. Chuck scratched his head. What exactly does that mean, Old Drool? Drool looked at his feet and replied, I am going to get some food in my shoes. It is a philosophy for the road. The audience cheered, finding meaning in the nonsense. It was a celebration of the quirky and the unconventional. Chuck then introduced the next act with a flourish. In case they do not succeed here today, this next duo can always go back to their day job, which apparently involves selling recycled Pampers to Shriners as party hats. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Ozark Sweethearts. A man and a woman stepped forward, bringing the soul of the mountains with them. They began to sing a story as old as time. I stepped out of the house about sundown while Mama was washing her hair. You can bet your bottom dollar she will come looking for me when she finds out that I am not there. Now, if she catches the sweet thing out of messing around, well, you know there will be the devil to pay. She will come roaring like a psycho through that door, and I can hear exactly what she will say. The woman in the duo took over the vocal, her voice full of character. She is going to say, where is anybody? Hello, Mama. This is my sweet thing. You know it must have been you catching around. Hang on now. The man replied, well, if my sweet thing is out talking and catching around, he will find a sandbox. Life is too bad. Now, wait a minute. The woman looked at him with mock defiance. Honey, do I look like a real Rosie? Yeah, do you not? The man laughed. My sweet thing, you should ask me why. Yeah, baby, she sang back. You better take my advice, and if you think more than twice, you better have something in that eye. The man turned to the judges and the audience. I think she really means it. You better take my advice, and if you think more than twice, you better have something in that eye. Chuck turned to J.P. Morgan, another figure of authority on the panel. J.P. Morgan, what do you think of the old sweethearts? Country, purely country, was the enthusiastic response. All right, Chuck said, looking out at the crowd. I suspect you have seen them folks out there with their fried chicken and everything, and it just made me a whole chick. Now, let us talk about something big. Star Wars is called what? War. Star Wars is called You Shit on My Forest. Ladies and... Oh, that was bad. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Welcome a man I truly love. He continued, his voice brimming with genuine warmth. He is a favorite on television from coast to coast. Imagine they are actually letting us into your house every night. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Robert Adolphe. Robert Adolphe stepped into the light, his face a canvas of youthful struggles. He began to sing a song that was both hilarious and strangely touching. 16 pimples are on my nose. I squeeze them to the, I suppose, to the little things, to the, I love the. Suddenly, the sound of the gong echoed through the studio. The judges had intervened. You know why they did that? Chuck asked Robert. They simply do not have any appreciation for the finer points of dermatological song. Skill, why did you do that? There is simply no room for the singing zit on this show, the judge replied with a laugh. Chuck shook his head, smiling. You get the feeling of the kind of people I have to work with here. I cannot say that out loud, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, let us move on to something grand. Gentlemen, here comes Ben Bones. Ben Bones marched onto the stage with the energy of 1,000 suns. He began to perform a classic that everyone knew and loved. On the cap, he seemed to understand. He goes next to the cap and went out and got the band. And now the company jumps when he has been traveling. He is the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. The music was loud, brassy, and full of the kind of life that makes a person want to stand up and dance. It was a tribute to a bygone era, performed with modern zest. When the song ended, the studio was filled with thunderous applause. Chuck turned to Louis Nye. Louis, you old rascal. What do you think of these two people and their performance? Well, Louis said, his voice smooth and thoughtful. It is always nice to meet young folks who try so hard. They have got all kinds of freckles on their faces, which I find charming. So, I thought I would lay on a high score. An 8. That is a good one. No, let us make it a 9. The numbers were called out with joy. 8 and 9. It was a high mark for a high-energy performance. As the show drew to a close, Chuck Barris stood in the center of the stage, surrounded by the colorful cast of characters who had shared their talents that day. He looked at Lee, who was still bravely fighting his cold. He looked at the Ozark sweethearts, who were holding hands. He looked at the judges, who were laughing amongst themselves. This was more than just a talent show, Chuck thought to himself. It was a celebration of the human condition. It was a place where people could be silly, where they could be loud, and where they could be themselves without fear of judgment. It was about the courage it takes to stand in front of a microphone and sing a song about pimples or play a bass fiddle you do not know how to play. In this world, there is so much seriousness and so much weight. But here, for 1 hour, we let the light in. We celebrate the outrageous because life itself is outrageous. We give out socks and checks and laughter because those are the things that truly matter. The host turned to the camera, giving the viewers at home one last wink. We have seen it all today, from the mountains of the Ozarks to the jazz festivals of Newport. We have seen the beauty of a song and the comedy of a cold pill. Most importantly, we have seen that every person has a story to tell and a song to sing, no matter how many trombones or pimples are involved. The credits began to roll across the screen, but the energy in the room did not fade. The audience stayed in their seats, clapping along to the final notes of the band. The performers hugged each other, sharing a bond that only those who have braved the stage can understand. Hollywood was still there outside the doors, with its fame and its pressures, but inside this room, there was only joy. There was only the simple, beautiful, and hilarious truth of being alive. As Chuck Barris walked off the stage, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had facilitated a moment of pure, unadulterated happiness. He had shown the world that it is okay to be a little bit crazy, a little bit loud, and a whole lot of human. And so, the night ended as it began, with the promise of more outrageous acts to come. Because as long as there are people with dreams and a sense of humor, the show will always go on. The gong might ring, and the cold pills might fall, but the laughter will echo forever in the hearts of those who were there to see it. The lights in the studio dimmed one by one until only a single spotlight remained, shining on the empty stage. It was a silent invitation for the next dreamer to step forward, to take a breath, and to share their own unique piece of magic with the world. And in that silence, there was a profound sense of hope, a reminder that the most outrageous act of all is simply having the heart to try. The end of the day marked the beginning of a memory, a story that would be told and retold, about the time a man with a cold and a duo with party hats brought a little more light into the world. And that, in the grand scheme of things, was the greatest prize of all. The 30 socks and the big check were wonderful, but the smiles on the faces of the people were the true currency of the evening. As the last person left the studio and the doors were locked, the spirit of the show remained, hovering in the rafters like a friendly ghost, waiting for the next time the curtain would rise and the music would begin again. In the heart of Hollywood, under the watchful eyes of the stars, the show had found its soul. It was a soul made of laughter, music, and the unbreakable will of the human spirit to shine, even if just for a moment, under the bright, beautiful lights of the stage. The world outside was quiet now, the city of angels resting before another day of dreams. But for those who had been part of this outrageous act, the world felt a little bit smaller, a little bit kinder, and a whole lot more fun. And that was exactly how it was meant to be. The stories of Lee, Jamie, Louie, Johnny, and all the others would live on, woven into the fabric of this grand old show. They were the pioneers of the peculiar, the heroes of the humorous, and the heart of everything we do. Good night, Hollywood. Good night, dreamers. And remember, no matter what happens, keep singing, keep dancing, and never, ever be afraid of the gong. For it is not a sign of failure, but a badge of honor for those who dared to be different. And as the final light went out, the echoes of the boogie-woogie bugle boy faded into the night, leaving behind a trail of stardust and the lingering scent of joy. The show was over, but the inspiration was just beginning. It was a masterpiece of the mundane, a symphony of the simple, and a testament to the fact that everyone, absolutely everyone, has a little bit of the outrageous inside of them just waiting to be set free. The host drove home that night with a smile on his face, listening to the hum of the city. He thought about the 64,000 questions of life and realized that the answer was often found in a simple laugh shared with a stranger. He thought about the 16 pimples and the 30 socks, and he realized that these were the details that made life rich. Tomorrow would bring new acts, new challenges, and new reasons to smile. But for tonight, he would rest easy, knowing that he had done his part to make the world a little bit brighter. And in the end, that is all any of us can really hope to do. The golden sun would rise again, and the palm trees would once again cast their shadows, but the memory of this night would remain, a shining example of what happens when we let our hearts lead the way. It was a beautiful night in Hollywood, and the best was yet to come. Through the quiet streets, the echoes of the laughter seemed to follow him, a gentle reminder that joy is contagious and that a single act of courage can inspire 1,000 more. He looked up at the stars and felt a connection to every person who had ever dared to dream. We are all performers on this great stage of life, he thought. And every act, no matter how small or how outrageous, is a part of the grand design. So, let us play our parts with passion, with humor, and with love. Let us be the sweethearts of our own Ozarks and the bugle boys of our own companies. The night was deep and peaceful, and as he closed his eyes, he could almost hear the sound of the audience clapping in the distance, a never-ending ovation for the beauty of being human. And with that thought, he drifted into a dreamless sleep, ready to do it all again tomorrow. The legacy of the show was not in the ratings or the prizes, but in the moments of connection it created. It was in the way a grandmother in Ohio laughed at a man with cold pills, and the way a young boy in Oregon felt inspired to pick up a bass fiddle. It was a bridge built of humor, spanning across the gaps that divide us. Every single person who stepped onto that stage was a hero in their own right. They were the ones who refused to be silent, who refused to be ordinary. They were the ones who reminded us that life is a gift, and it is meant to be opened with excitement and curiosity. So here is to the dreamers, the singers, the dancers, and the ones who just stand there. Here is to the judges who laugh and the hosts who cheer. Here is to the outrageous acts that make us stop and wonder. And here is to you for being a part of this wonderful, whimsical journey. The curtain may fall, but the spirit of the performance is eternal. It is a flame that burns in each of us, a spark of creativity that can never be extinguished. So let your light shine, and let the world see the wonderful, outrageous person you were born to be. The end of the script was just the beginning of the story. And the story, like the music of the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, would go on, jumping and traveling through time, bringing joy to everyone who hears it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for your laughter and your heart. We will see you next time on the most outrageous show on earth. Until then, keep the music playing and the laughter flowing. The lights are down, the studio is quiet, but the magic remains. It is in the air we breathe and the dreams we dream. And it is always, always beautiful. The final word of the night was not spoken, but felt. It was a word of peace, of joy, and of gratitude. It was the word that stays with you long after the show is over. It was the word that reminds us that we are never alone, as long as we have each other to laugh with. Good night, everyone. Good night.